I, I guess by scoring margin, Michigan was your worst loss of the season, and I know you were pretty open after that game that you didn't like the intensity that your team had in that game. I guess is that something you guys have been talking about openly this week that you just didn't bring it that game?
Well, you would think after the big game we had against Purdue, everybody would be sky high, and I think we came out with. Let me turn this off here. I think we came out with great intentions, to play hard, but we just didn't sustain it. After watching the film again, we did nothing right in that game. I mean, on both ends of the floor, our defensive coverages were awful, and it was one of those games where I just thought we didn't we didn't show up to play, and they took advantage of it on both ends of the floor.
Keegan.
Hey, Coach. Thanks for the time. Hunter Dickinson obviously kind of hurt you guys in that last matchup. Is the preparation for him any different? Are you approaching kind of his skill set in a different way this time around?
Well, again, our bigs are going to have to just play him. I thought he had his way, and, he was very boisterous about it and did, he came in and had a monster game. And, you're not going to beat that team if you don't slow him down. So we're going to have to do a better job on him to the point where he can't dominate like he did. I mean, I thought that was the difference. And yeah, they made threes, but I just thought he was the X factor. He did whatever the hell he wanted to do. And, we just can't let that happen again.
Alec.
Hey, Coach. Again, when you kind of look back at that first matchup, was there anything that you can really take away from that and say kind of, hey, we did X, Y, and Z okay, and we can build off of that? Or do you kind of flush the tape and move on and take this as a new game?
It wasn't pretty watching again yesterday. I'll tell you that. I think we just got to start fresh and regroup. That game, again, we hadn't had really any games like that. I mean, we were very competitive, and you think about it, we hit the first shot of the start the second half, cut it to 6, and then that was as close as we ever got again. And you got to give Michigan a lot of credit, man, because they came in here, they made shots, and the big fella was huge. I mean, we had no answer for it. So, we got to eliminate the shots that they made here, and we got to do a better job on Dickerson.
Kevin.
Yeah, Coach, a tournament setting like this is kind of tricky because you're kind of in must-win road, but you're going to be playing multiple games. How do you balance that with your rotations and your bench versus having to win that game versus even possible rest if you guys do advance?
Well, you can't worry about the second game until you win the first game. So, we gotta. I've been playing, 7, 8 guys, and I know Michigan is going to probably play 6 to 7 guys at the most, significant minutes. I know their first unit, along with Terrence Williams off the bench, they occupy basically all the minutes. And, when I go to the bench, I got to make sure that we're doing what we have to do, because in these tournaments, just in Big Ten play alone, you can be down 4 or 5 points, and that can turn into 10, 12 points right away if you don't have, key players on the floor. So, I just got to watch that closely and see where we are.
Jim Coyle.
Hey, Mike, you've talked about the kids staying off of social media and with all that's at stake here of needing to win. How do you balance with keeping their minds, the mental aspect, and keeping that stuff out and just focusing on what they need to do? Because there's been so many times at the end of games where the season could have been changed just in a moment's mistakes. What do you do to keep them focused on just what they need to do and eliminating the outside noise?
I wish I had the answer for that. Really, I do, in terms of these guys just staying away from it. But, once they leave me and, go to class and, spend time with their friends and teammates, once they're away from the arena, the gym, social media plays a major role, man. And, you can't control it. And all I can do is when they're here, talk to them about it, try to push them in the right direction in terms of, what's in front of us, what's staring us in the face, because at the end of the day, we got to win. I mean, I've known that the last 2 weeks, and we've lost two tough games. And you figure if you win one, maybe both of them, you and I wouldn't be having this conversation about, trying to get into, the tournament play. We just would be worrying about Big Ten tournament. So we just got to stay positive, and I got to continue to push them these next 2 days to get us ready for Thursday.
Zach.
I don't know if Zach is on. Zach?
Dustin.
Hey, Mike, what's the adjustment been like for you going from the NBA to college basketball in terms of the timeout situation? Obviously, you're used to having more in the NBA, and but probably not as used to as many kind of predetermined media timeouts. Just what's that been like determining when you want to save one, when you want to use one to stop a run? How's that adjustment been?
Well, I'm constantly turning, because I am so used to so many timeouts. And, the other night I used them all because, I was trying to kill the run and I ran out of timeouts. And, but a place like Purdue, I don't regret what I did because shit, they made, it gets crazy in there, and we could have easily gone from 10 to 20 easily, in that building. So, I got to just work closely with my coaching staff to make sure that I at least have one, coming down the home stretch in case, we got to dribble the ball up and then I can, get it in the front court. But, again, I don't think that beat us the other night. I personally don't think that. We had our shots. And, if Parker makes the three, that's now the pressure's back on them being up one, and us having to get one stop. So, but I got to get better. I got to, my coaches have got to help me a little bit more, and I got to get better in terms of figuring out, the timeouts, because we don't have as many as we had when we were in the NBA, when I was in the NBA. So I got to work on that.
Zach.
Coach, sorry, my internet crapped out for a second. So if somebody asked this already, I apologize. But I think Trey stretched and warmed up on Saturday. Obviously, he didn't play, but as you prepare for a team like Michigan that can challenge you from sort of those wing spots, those hybrid spots, do you think he might be available? How important do you think he would be, especially defensively, if he was available?
Well, again, he played in the game, the first game. And, I just didn't think any of our guys played great in that game. We were just, we were awful, I thought. And yes, we need him. He's been a big piece of the puzzle. We knew that coming into the season. He and Rob both. And hell, Rob has missed 10 games, and now I think he's up to 13, 14 games, Trey. So, it hurts that they've missed the games because, again, we were counting on those guys to be a part of it. But, if he's able to come back, I'm going to accept him with open arms. We need bodies. And, he's been pretty good, when he's been in uniform and on the floor for us. So, but I don't know if he's even going to come back. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I mean, he hasn't really been able to practice, and so again, my theme has always been is the next guy's got to be ready to play. That's all we can do at this point.
Alex.
Hey, Mike, thanks for the time. We appreciate it. Curious, you've coached basketball for a long time at the highest level, and you've talked a lot this season about getting these guys over the hump, teaching them how to win. What is there like one or two things you can point to late in games that's not happening that needs to happen, or is it just as simple as not making a shot when you're open or a turnover? Is there something you can point to specifically you think that maybe is holding these guys back?
I don't think there's anything you can point to. I mean, you put them in the best position possible. You try to. I mean, when I look at the other night, 17 seconds. Hey, we executed the hell out of the play, but we came up empty. We didn't make the shot. It was a wide open shot, underneath out of bounds. We've executed that play where Trey has gotten the lob, and Fennessy's hit the jump shot in the corner, and as well as Parker, against Rutgers. Why Miller threw the ball low versus throwing it high, because he was wide open. You can't explain those situations. As a coach, you go through it with them just like they experience it. And I think when you start consistently finishing plays like that and the win comes behind it, then it becomes natural. We've just had so many miscues coming down the home stretch. Ohio State, we leave a guy open under the bucket, Well, we don't teach that, but hell, it happened. And that was probably the biggest play of that game. I mean, you can name them all. And if you win those games, then, they're in a good place mentally in terms of moving forward each time they're in that position. And we haven't won them. So, we keep making some of the same mistakes or missing some wide open shots that, other teams seem to make against us. So, I mean, it's just one of those things. We just got to keep working our way through it.
Last question, Mike Schumann.
Yeah, Coach, that approach you went to offensively against Purdue with, just kind of just spreading things out, putting the ball in X's hands and letting him create off high ball screens. Is that something that's translatable down the road here where you can, go with that approach, or is that going to be a game by game thing?
Well, again, guys, if you watch my New York teams, that's kind of how we played. But I had multiple guys that can handle the ball and play pick and roll basketball. And it's probably the first time since I've been here with our offense, we've been able to open the floor up like that, because I saw something based on what, Painter and them were doing defensively. But you still got to be able to make shots behind opening the floor. And you got to be able to throw the lob, which we were able to do in getting, Trey some dunks or layups in that regard. I mean, when you open the floor up, there's a lot of things that come into play based on how the defense is playing. I mean, everybody plays it pretty much in college, but I hadn't gone to it that much because, we just weren't, a lot of teams just sit in, and Purdue they tag from the backside and their bigs just stay in the paint. And, it gave us the pocket pass. It gave us the throwback based on the tag. A lot of teams don't play us that way. So that's why we hadn't run it that much. But you still got to make shots, when you open the floor up like that. And I thought we had some good looks again. And Miller was pretty damn good, in it the other night. And, that's not to say that we won't, exploit it again. But a lot of it is how the defense is playing us.